from Germany, we welcome you to yet another presentation here for RaceSpotTV Friday night primetime. The iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge swings back over to Europe, this time at one of the brand new iRacing tracks introduced just within the last couple of months. Nola Rempo coming at you here from Hockenreimring with Stefan Schlackia beside me in the commentary box and Hockenreimring once again behind the cameras for today's race. Stefan, one of the newest facilities we got here on the schedule, and the first time that the Pilot Challenge has come here so far, meaning this race is sure to be packed full of action.
Not only packed full of action, but also packed full of surprises, because these guys most definitely needed to practice a whole lot this full week that we had here today, because these guys, as you mentioned, never raced here before in these cars unless they had some kind of league races. So these guys are up for a challenge in today's 30 minutes racing here at Hockenheim.
Hockenheim, of course, has a very, very rich history behind it. Used to be one of the fastest facilities on the Formula One calendar. First opened in 1932 and remained one of those temples of speed here all the way up until 2002 when it was reprofiled by Herman Tilke to make the track, of course, safer. But still, this track does provide for a lot of good racing. Most notably, out through turn number 3 down towards the hairpin, where we can see drivers potentially, if they're brave enough and potentially stupid enough, going up to 4 wide down into that hairpin. So it is going to be quite the entertaining race today. It's also a fairly bigger field in the GT4s we're used to seeing. 17 cars today in GT4s and only 10 in the TCR category here, Stefan. So I think that says a thing or two about how much these drivers want to go just that little bit faster.
Yeah, most definitely. And you're saying that run through the Parabolica, we're not allowed to forget the DTM had one of the most scariest crashes imaginable from Tom Christensen through that Parabolica, with him getting completely T-boned from another competitor with a speed of 200-something kilometers an hour.
And that was all the way back in 2010, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Definitely a very scary wreck there today, and the possibilities are very high as well here today. Qualifying currently underway. We're watching at the moment Maximilian Zoher currently darting his way into the arena section for his second lap on today's qualifying session. He's currently sitting third place in the TCRs, about 0.485 behind pole sitter George Simmons. Simmons, of course, as always, top of the timing boards, but this time by about 0.3 of a second as well. So Simmons, he is definitely going to be the man to beat today. But as we've seen time and time again throughout these races, qualifying is definitely never a projection of how the race could play out.
No, especially with a track like Hockenheim, you have 2 long straights and obviously also a very great passing opportunity at the Spitzkehre. So these guys are up for a draft trade, maybe even in the GT4s today. But honestly, with a new face up at the top of Dion Philippa, we might see a very different story here today.
Could be a very different story, to say the very least. On board here with Marcus Girac. He is currently the last place of the drivers that has set time so far in the GT4 category. He's about 0.4 of a second off of Jascha Hellrung, the next closest driver up the road. He started his way into the arena section now for his second flying lap. This arena section is obviously a very famous set of corners as well. This is a place here that has actually remained a part of the facility ever since it really became one of those permanent racetracks. Back in, I believe it was the early 50s that the track was reprofiled into that, and it has pretty much remained virtually unchanged ever since then, with obviously the introduction of a couple of safety features, tire barriers, of course, definite lifesavers in the world of motorsport. A drop off of turn number 4. He's going to come across the start-finish line. A 1:44.511. That is good enough to promote him up into the top 10. 9th place for that number 4 car.
Yeah, definitely seemed to have a banker lap here in the first time around as we look at Jeremy Bouteloup, one of the very few BMW competitors.
And Bouteloup, one of the drivers to run in the BMW as well. Of course, it's not very common that we see the BMWs out here to play nowadays. Usually it has been either all Porsches with the occasional McLaren thrown in there. So Bouteloup daring to put in the BMW times. He is not going to be able to get a lap in, have both of his laps invalidated. It would not surprise me here, Stefan, if those laps were invalidated by running a little bit too wide off of turn number 1. It's a very easy thing to do. Not to mention, if you run too wide through one, it'll even give you a slowdown penalty for gaining time. So that's a very tricky corner and one to watch out for today in the early stages.
Yeah, the track limits here at the Hockenreimring are very lax, but you're not allowed to get too far outside of those white lines, because those penalties can be very harsh.
Very harsh indeed. I believe it's about a 3-second slowdown penalty if you run too wide out of turn number 1. That is the tightest of the hairpins there that we'll have to watch out for as well, particularly on lap number 1. Qualifying is over, though, so let's take a rundown now at your starting grid for round number 11 of the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge here at the Hockenreimring. It is going to be Dino Filippa going to be starting things off on pole position. Jacob Tofts sits in the second place on the front row with John Bodefer in the third position. Giuliano Egloff is in fourth with Bo Rigger in fifth place. Ben Kelly McCauley is going to be in sixth with Damian Owen Harris, once again making the transfer from the TCRs over the GT4s to start seventh. Florian von Minkvitz is going to be in the 18th position. Marcus Girac sits in ninth with a fantastic second lap. Juan Bustamante is in 10th with Max Kamara in 11th. Christopher Weitz is in 12th position. Tammy Accioli is going to be in the 13th position with Gillian Salomon in 14th. Lewis Ward in 15th with Joshua Hellrung in 16th. Jeremy Bodolo in the BMW is going to round out the 17 cars in the GT4 category. For the TCRs, meanwhile, it is once again George Simmons on the pole. No surprises there, but only just about 0.06 of a second or so. Marcel Josheim is going to be in the second position with Miguel Garcia in third. Maximilian Zoher is in fourth position with Matthias Magnussen in fifth. Thorsten Ulrich is in sixth place with Dominic Cordum in seventh position. Now, here is a mouthful of a name. Juan Cruz Federici de Palma is in the 25th overall position, starting 8th place in the TCR category with Adam McNally and Ismael Habib Jimenez. Going to round out the 10-car TCR field on the day. So 27 cars ready to rock and roll here from Hockenheim.
And already 10 points to you for nailing that number 26 name. Honestly, quite surprised that you managed to do that. But the big question obviously will be here today in that lap 1 at the Spitzkehre. Is somebody going to nail somebody else's car? Well, I honestly hope not, and quite honestly also don't think that somebody's going to do that. But it is IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. We have a lot of GT4s, we have a lot of TCRs here in this field today, so never say never.
It's a very stacked GT4 field, and as you can see from this shot alone here, pretty much all Porsches all the way back through. In fact, the only car that is not a Porsche 718 Cayman Club Sport is that BMW M4 driven by Jimmy Bodolo, who was not able to set in qualifying last. So I have to see what the lone BMW can do against the swarm of Porsches just up the road. As the classes get set to go racing, though, it will be in the hands of Dino Filippa as we get set to go racing here for the Hockenheimring. The pace car pulls down into pit road. The 2-car going to hold the field through the final corner. Now gets on that throttle. Jacob Toss trying to get the run around the outside. Green flag waves here from Germany as we get set to thunder down to turn 1 for the first time today. Looking to be side by side for fourth. Oh, look out! Multiple cars get spun around. McCauley is sent around right in front of the pack. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars involved. A major pile up in turn number 1. Sees several cars no doubt dumped out of the race. We'll have to see if the TCRs can fare much better. And the single file line of Audi RS3 LMSs is clean and green. They're going to go side by side, though, for the third position as Zohar tries to fight the outside of Garcia down for turn 2. Oh, look out! The 25 car of Ulrich down the inside, making it 3 wide into turn 2. The 25 car does back out. The GT4s now just started their way through that final hairpin, the best pass opportunity on the racetrack.
And seems like they were all clean through at least the Spitzkehre there. Good news for them, but obviously bad news for all the competitors that are already out from that turn 1 incident through the Nordkurve. And there we see the aftermath of the 22.
Yeah, after that turn 2, indeed, there has been another incident with Marcel Jokheim. We'll get onto that in a minute, but there is the massive pile up on the race start of the GT4s. That caused a lot of GT4s to be really split up now as a result of all of that. A couple cars even making contact after the fact. The 13 car got nailed, though, for the TCR field in that hairpin. Looked like it was by one of the pink TCR machines, I believe, potentially Dominic Cordum. So I have to take another look at that here in just a second. Here's another angle, though, of that pileup. And that just goes to show one car gets sideways through turn 1, and you're in for a world of hurt if you're not expected. And not to mention the smoke, you really can't be able to see at all.
Yeah, not at all, sadly, for that. But here we see... No, we're back to green. Sorry, my bad.
So still racing here in the GT4 category, and it's going really well so far for them, though they're really split up, though, as a result of that one. And as a result of that incident down into the hairpin, George Simmons has gotten himself a massive gap over the field, a second and a half, as a matter of fact. So Simmons is looking set to just cruise away and potentially take a win here today, and one that he would no doubt sorely needs after being robbed so many times earlier in the season. So the 23 car of Zohar is going to be headed up the field now of these TCRs, and he's going to have to hope now that the second time through that hairpin goes a little bit better than the first time.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's actually have a good look here at how strong this draft can be for the TCRs. Obviously, they will run into the limiter because they have a very short gear ratio in these Audis. Already quite hard into the limiter, as you can hear. Adam McAnally trying to go around the outside of the 17. That's an interesting move. Maybe the undercut here on the exit. No, can't get it done. A nice block from the 17 there.
Ismael Habib Jimenez, you can see him way in the background in the blue and white TCR just back there. He way overshot the hairpin, had to go deep into the runoff to avoid running over cars up in front. We saw the same thing happen on lap number 1, except it ended in the second place driver getting knocked out entirely because they tried to go to the inside instead of darting around the outside and just bailing out. So lucky there that Jimenez managed to miss the field. But so far, once again, the field is actually getting pretty split up now in the TCRs as well. Usually we're so used to seeing, a 5-6 car train right up at the front, nose to tail the entirety of the race. So it's a lot more split up than I think we were expecting coming into today's race already.
Yeah, might have to do with some of the incidents, but also for the TCRs here, it's more down to just how strong the pace today is from George Simmons. I mean, we're accustomed to how well George Simmons can perform, but today he really did set up a new pace standard for himself, it seems like, because he's really starting to pull away from everybody in behind, and everybody that is in behind him, which is obviously the whole field, just tries to at least somewhat hang behind him and keep on tagging along, but just can't keep up. The only real battle we have right now is that battle for third place between Garcia and Ulrich.
Well, you're saying that, Joshua Hellrung just had a bit of a scary moment with Marcus Chirac and Juan Bustamante. They almost went 3 wide of the run down towards the hairpin. Bustamante ended up losing out on 2 spots there in the one straightaway. So just goes to show how powerful the draft can be in the massive run down off of turn number 3, down for 4. So it's another thing to really watch out for. Those dive bombs, they can be incredibly crucial to how a race like this can potentially pull out here. Quarter of a second now separated the top 2. A couple cars dipping their tires into the grass as well. I believe that was Tufts and Filippa that both dipped their wheels just into the gravel trap. Very risky thing to do in these GT4s. They do not like it when you push the limits like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the good thing is with the Hockenreimring and with that very long straight-ish, that is the Parabolica, it's one of the few tracks where actually the draft plays a thing in battles here, so they really can stick together. Like, this group seems to be able to stick together for what is that, 8th place.
And this time by, Jacob Tofts for the Porsche Sport team is definitely a heck of a lot closer to that 2 car than he was the last time through here. So if he can get a good drive off of turn 3, he could have a run down this very long straight through the Parabolica into turn number 4. So he's got a big head of steam on that number 2 car. So Dino Filippa is going to be a sitting duck. He's going to have to go defensive here. Jacob Tofts might try to fight the outside line, but the 7 car, being patient, decides he wanted to back off, maybe wait a little while before really making the move. Misses the apex by the smallest of margins. One of those easy little mistakes to make. It is such a fast hairpin. If you're going in there just a couple of miles an hour too fast, you're going to overshoot it. So he is doing a good job, though, making sure that he's keeping Filippa nice and close, and most importantly, keeping him honest as well with those little mistakes.
Exactly, and as we know in the GT4s, small mistakes are very easy to make, and even small mistakes can cost you a lot of time. And since we're perfectly here at the exit of the Mercedes Arena, this outside curb, this sausage curb, as you were able to see right there on your screens, prime example, one hard bump that is extremely tall and not very wide. It really unsettles your car. If you hit it wrong, you're going to spin out into the inside wall.
He absolutely will. I mean, those sausage curbs obviously designed more for open wheel machines to kind of keep them from cutting those curbs. But they are car killers. I mean, I think that's a bit of an understatement. If you hit them wrong, they'll send your car launching over, if not break the suspension entirely, depending on what you're driving. So it's a very risky thing to watch out for as well. Here's the battle for third place at DCR. The full set racing driver of Miguel Garcia currently trying to fend off Thorsten Ulrich just behind. So we'll have to see what the 25 car can do. He did look for the third position, and it looks as though there has been a swap as Ulrich did manage to lose out on the third position. Miguel Garcia up into the podium.
Yeah, probably did happen at the chicane here in this lap number 4 already, by the way. Nearly 10 minutes gone in this race. So time flies by once again in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge.
Time flies indeed. Already almost a third of the way through the race, closing in on that 10-minute mark. Just 2 minutes away from that one in this 30-minute sprint race here today. Ulrich not looking for the inside of Garcia down into turn number 2. He's definitely going to have to wait until turn 4. It's safe to assume that we're not really going to be seeing a lot of drivers trying to make those daring passes down the inside into turn 2. I mean, there really is no point, but they're just going to pass right back past you on this very, very long straightaway. So Ulrich, no doubt going to try to look for the right side here, or is he going to just keep it in line? He is going to keep it in line. It's a very interesting move that we're seeing from a few of these drivers here. Not really looking to go for those positions, but they're trying to just keep it nice and steady. A bit of a puff of smoke, though. Looks like Adam McNally might have had the smallest of moments. Potentially got a little bit of a touch from Juan Cruz Federici de Palma, but so far, it's looking pretty settled here for the 21 and the 26, just in the back as well, but they've now split up a little bit, so I do think some nose-to-tail contact was made there.
Yeah, and because we saw Ulrich here continue to be behind Garcia, I think that was kind of a play, thinking that Ulrich probably knows that Garcia is faster than him right now, at least in the parts where he most definitely is struggling, and that's why he kept behind, because maybe if they play their cards right, they might be able to catch up at least to Maximilian Zöder, who is right now in second place following George Simmons here. So maybe, just maybe, Ulrich thinks that if he continues in behind and does give them draft bumps, that they could potentially catch up to second place.
So those little bumps that can make or break the difference, but I think it's going to be a bit of a long shot as the 23 car is now caught up to George Simmons and is now kind of hanging in within the draft there. So they're going to need something else before they're going to be able to properly go. They're going to need those top 2 to start duking it out, go side by side through some of these trickier corners where they'll be able to realistically start to pull them back in. So we'll continue the ride on board here with Magnussen, as Magnussen kind of sitting right at no man's land here in the middle of this train, just trying to find a way to the front, but also trying to make sure he can keep the other guys behind him as well. So in this massive run here down through turn 3 and down for 4, Garcia's got a much bigger gap this time, so not big enough that even if Ulrich wanted to go for it, it would not be a very reasonable dive bomb. Ooh, Ulrich gonna maybe try to go around the outside though and get this crossover on the exit. Garcia holds firm and holds his ground in that number 12 machine. He's going to look to the right. Oh, we're going to go down the inside. That's not a turn. You see no contact. Garcia gets shoved wide.
I wonder if Ulrich did hit the inside sausage cup there. Might see the bump once again here on the replay as we have a look at it a second time. So Ulrich, the second car in line here, 25, is going to look to the inside. Did he hit the sausage curb, or was it just simply too deep? Simply too deep.
Yeah, just a bit too deep in there. That's not a corner you really see passing opportunity being very viable. It's one of those corners that's more in there to kind of slow the cars down than it is to really be used as a passing opportunity. But I mean, props to him. He managed to make it work. Now, the only problem with that is he is going to be under fire from a lot of drivers right behind there, going to be eager to find their way through as well, including Miguel Garcia, the driver he just shoved out wide as well. So I have a feeling that with the contact that was made, Miguel Garcia might want to repay the favor in kind. Of course, one of the golden rules of racing here, there are really 2 of them. First one being, of course, don't wreck your team, but the second, race how you want to be raced. And with that contact, Miguel Garcia might get a little bit physical here if he gets back up to him.
Yeah, might happen, but I'm really starting to love this train here. Third all the way down to 8th place in this draft. 5 cars in total. As there we go, Garcia not going to be able to do something, but that was a mistake, and that causes all kinds of stuff.
Looked as though Ulrich got loose and slid out wide, and Garcia tried to look at the inside. Magnussen also slid sideways into the corner and actually got up the inside of the full send racing machine. So now the 17 car going to try to have a run at this one. Here comes McNally down the inside. Beats up Garcia off. Both cars way deep, and McNally has a broken suspension. So Adam McNally out of the race as a result of that move. Garcia still do battle with Ismael Yabig Jimenez as well. Take a look back at this one here that came all the way down from the hairpin. Watch the 17 car, the white car just in back. He shoots so far sideways and somehow gets up the inside of the full send racing driver.
And that all was done by Ulrich. They're just completely messing up his braking performance, going all sideways and really having to overslow the car. And what happens here to McNally?
Way too deep. He was never going to make that corner regardless, and that hit just destroyed the right front suspension on that Audi RS3 LMS. So all of that has put Miguel Garcia way at the back of the field and has really split up as well that draft train that we're seeing in the TCRs.
I have to say, though, wouldn't be surprised if we once again see them come together, especially with Paul Rigor trying to make his way soon through that draft train in the GT4, trying to unlap himself from those cars.
At this point in time, the only real battle that's of note here in the TCRs is, of course, between Juan Cruz Federici de Palma and Matthias Magnussen. So let's take a look up and give some more love to the GT4s, and let's wait for the TCR battles to start to pick on up. This is the battle for first place. Nothing's really changed in this one. Philippa still leads. Jacob Toss is in second. Bodefer is in third, with Giuliani Egloff in the 4th position to round things out in this top 4 leading train. It looks as though 7th and 6th are a little closer than these guys are. Christoph White and Gillian Salomon trying to do battle here. Salomon, the driver that's on the offense at the moment. The problem is for Salomon, he's having a bit of a rough time trying to close into the back of the cars right up in front. So it's a very difficult situation to work with. And as you correctly pointed out, Stefan, as well, the battle for P8, another 3-car train, included our lone BMW in the field, is also looking a bit tight as well.
Yeah, and Jeremy has started to find his pace. It seems like he's starting to really be faster than the 2 Porsches he's battling with, so might also see something happening here soon for 8th and 9th.
7th and 6th is looking to be battling it sooner. Salomon looking down the inside for the hairpin on Christopher White is going to get the pass done. White's going to switch the inside, and look at that, a beautiful switchback pass there for Christopher White to retake 6th place. That was beautiful and perfectly executed as well from that driver. So we'll have to see here if Salomon can fight back here. We've seen how passes usually go into this corner, but Salomon's going for it anyway. They both get it stopped in time, and the 16 car still gets clear.
Great battle by these 2 drivers. Much respect given. A lot of room as well, and that's just how you battle. Salomon with a fair try into the Mercedes arena. Just didn't work out, and that was even worse.
Oh, Salomon! Woo, just barely. Gets it slowed down for the arena section somehow, and that has caused Salomon to lose out on a boatload of time. He's got a lot of work to do, and if he wants to reel in Christopher White again. Take a look back here at the race spot replay. This was, I believe, this was going to be the off here from Gillian Salomon. So looks for the inside. That puts him offline, though. So he tries to get just as much speed as if he was on the racing line. So he just swings out too wide, gets into the gravel trap there. Look at the wheel work he's having to do to keep that car going in the straight line.
Yeah, good job, Salomon. But easy mistake there into the Mobile 1 curve. Just going to the inside, it's never a good passing opportunity because of how narrow this exit is off that chicane into the arena. So really, Julian, next time, just don't even think about it.
The arena section is one of the most difficult places to pass on the racetrack, so it's definitely not really feasible, especially in GT4s, to really see cars going side by side through there. Take a look up to the TCRs. This is going to be the battle for the race lead. George Simmons and Maximilian Zohar. The gap has continued to close in ever since we last checked in. All of them is down to just 0.6 of a second. So in a couple of laps here, if Azor can continue to reel in the gap, he could find himself within striking distance of race leader George Simmons. Simmons at the moment about 26 seconds back from the nearest GT4 car as well. That's the gap you're seeing on the bottom right of the screen. It's just between himself and the next GT4 car up the road. So not really a gap you can compare with.
Yeah, not really whatsoever. But as I pretty much expected, at least the top three of that battle for third place have once again found themselves. I think, yeah, they have once again. So at least that's again a draft battle.
Saw a bit of side-by-side action back here. That is just Bo Rigger trying to look down the inside of a lot of TCR traffic. He's 4 laps down. And oh, my goodness. A big battle there as Juan Cruz Federici De Palma, I believe, just had a big dive down the inside of Matthias Magnussen trying to capitalize on the GT4 traffic, trying to work its way through. No dice, though, for De Palma. Now, of course, that GT4 car is actually 4 laps down from the TCRs. So, it goes to show just how far down he is. Look at De Palma here. He actually tried to get the slipstream from that GT4. Then right here, he's going to go down the inside of Magnussen to try to make a lunge. Give him a bumper as well. Trying to go for the bump and run.
I'm not sure how wanted that really was, because obviously the first two, Ulrich and Magnussen, had to really slow down their cars to help facilitate that pass on Rieger, and maybe even they outbraked themselves a little bit, and that's why they had to overslow so much as well. And I think Palmer just had his normal speed on, normal racing line, and that's why they made that contact.
Battle for the race lead is catch lap traffic. That's Dominic Cordo just up the road. Now, Cordo was the driver that overshot the hairpin and caused the big pile up at the DCRs down to the hairpin on the opening lap. He's going to move aside and let the field through. Cordum with a lot of damage on his car, particularly on the left front. Sparks flying for the underside of his vehicle. It has been that case all race long. But you know, Philippe, he still has not been able to break away from Jacob Tofts at all. I mean, that Porsche Sport driver has definitely been keeping Philippe nice and honest. If that two-car makes one mistake, I can guarantee you Tofts is going to be all over him.
Maybe all over him, maybe even already past him, looking at how close these two are racing all race long already. So good stuff from the GT4 leaders here as well. And you also have to give it to Botfer and Egelhoff, because those two really able to hang on to the top two.
Coming up to 10 minutes remaining. Had yellow flags at the start of the arena section. Looks like Lewis Ward has had a bit of an off there, and a full spin for him as well. He ended up stopping just off the circuit, so Lewis Ward with his own little struggles. His bad day continues on here. He already had significant damage to the front end of his machine as well. The front bonnet definitely not looking very pleased on his car, and there you see it just looped it all by himself at the engine of the arena section. A very easy corner to make that mistake on, especially with the damaged race car.
Yeah, probably all that damage has unsettled the balance of the car quite significantly, and that's just not something you want to have when entering such a fast corner as the Mobile One Kurve.
So Tofts and Filippa still nice and close here for the top run into this one, with now just under 10 minutes remaining in this race. The battle for 6th and 7th has caught Dominic Cordum as well, so 6th and 7th place are about to no doubt get a little bit spicier as Christopher White is trying to find his way through. He is going to get past the TCR traffic with Salomon just up behind. So a lot of the battles in the GT4 field are starting to pick on up here. You got this one for 1st and 2nd place out there. 6th and 7th are still tied. 8th, 9th, and 10th are starting to close it, as well as the BMW tries to work his way back up through the order as well. So all these little battles are all going to accumulate here around the same time towards the end of this race in those final 5 minutes or so. The overall race lead has not really shifted around a whole lot for the start of this race, but that big pile-up definitely thinned out the herd quite significantly in the GT4s. And, you know, if I'm being completely honest with you here, Stefan, I was actually surprised that we saw that pile-up in the GT4s. They were running so close together. I thought they would have been, having more of a go at it in the TCR category. And speaking of the TCRs, looks as though the battle for P3 in the TCR field started to heat up as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Magnus tried to have a little bit of a look into the Spitzker. It didn't really work out for him. But these guys are really starting to get racy now, especially with just about 8 minutes left in the race.
Starting to get racy indeed. So this is going to be the fight here for Ulrich to see if he can hang on against Matthias Magnussen. Don't count down to Palma just behind it as well. He's no doubt going to be trying to find a way through as well through all this one. And of course, you have Ismael Yabib Jimenez just barely waiting in the wings of the background, waiting for any of the small mistakes. He is a big contender in this fight as well. If he starts to want to get his hands dirty and start to really fight with these guys as well, things in the TCR fields we've been seeing all season long, they can get really physical really quickly when you got drivers of this caliber all running together.
Yeah, and you know the crazy thing.
Oh, heads. Jacob Toft takes the lead. Filippa's had a massive off over there in the arena section. That was at, I believe, one of the more safe ones up there.
That was toast.
Oh, dear. Dino Filippa. What has happened to the race leader? He had led every lap up to this point and not faltered once. Was it just one of those little mistakes that ended up costing him? We'll take a look at this one through the arena section.
Did he do a Vettel? Oh no, he lost it through the Mobile 1 curve.
Oh, and he's on the grass. That car's not going to stop in the grass. Not going to stop. Skates back across into the gravel trap and then, hits the wall. And he's still out of the track trying to salvage anything from this, but the car is crabbing so severely he has to come down a pit road. No way he can reasonably keep that number 2 car out there. Absolutely disastrous, though, for Dino Filippa. And now that is going to allow Jacob Toft well out and clear to the lead. On board here with Toft. Take a look at his view here. You're going to see there goes Filippo just over the gravel. He almost followed him as well. And then he has to slow down big time because there goes Filippo back across the track. Exactly what Jacob Toft wanted to see, but a nightmare for Dino Filippa.
Yeah, what a nightmare. Has led every single lap thus far and then crashes out on such a silly mistake there right away. Probably regretting not to step on the brake much harder and much sooner on the grass there already on the outside of the Mobile 1 curve. But it's Hockenheim. Small mistakes have big consequences here.
Especially in that arena section right there. We saw one Porsche GT4 do that earlier in the race, and he just barely managed to get a stop. When he got back onto the track right away, it was just never going to happen there. That is so unfortunate for those drivers. Matthias Magnussen under fire from Juan Cruz Federici de Palma, who goes up into the 4th position of the TCR category, down for turn number 2. So De Palma finally done waiting. However, there's a long way up now to Thorsten Ulrich with just over 5 minutes to go. So De Palma here going to be under fire here. Here comes Magnussen going to go back to the inside for the turn 4 hairpin. So Magnussen in the 17 car going to lunge it up, trying to slow it down. Going to get it stopped. He does, just barely. De Palma trying to get the crossover just off the corner.
Yeah, he tried to do the switcheroo, but it did not work because he went too tight and actually did hit the bump on the inside and in the grass there over the curb. So a little bit of a miscalculation on the part of Juan Cruz Federici de Palma there.
A lot of the battles started to pick on up as well. We're also seeing positions for 8th and 9th. The GT4 started to do battle as well as Jurok and Hellrung are starting to really go at it in the run down towards the hairpin. So you got all these battles starting to really pick on up here. Here is that battle for 8th place. That is Hellrung trying to go around the outside line. And here comes the BMW as Hellrung goes way too deep. Jurok is going to hold on to 7th. Here comes Bodilo trying to go for 8th. Lone BMW going to slot back in the line, down for turn 6. Here comes Hellrung, going to try to have another lunge on Marcus Jurok. He's trying to get closer on the brace. The problem is these cars really do take the whole slow in, fast out philosophy there. So Joshua Hellrung only hurts himself in trying for the massive dive like that.
Yeah, most definitely. But the good thing for Hellrung is that the BMW of Budlup just doesn't have to run out of the slow corners, so he was safe at least there to not lose the position down to that 9th place Jeremy Budlup.
Every 10th of a second counts in battles like these ones here. So as this battle for 7th, 8th, and 9th continues to pick on up, at this point, Jurok is hoping that Bodilo has a lunge on Hellrung and puts them side by side. So if they can do that, he might be able to break clear of the draft. Oh, but Jurok runs wide for turn 1. So do the other 2 cars just behind him. again, you have to be careful of that. If you run too wide, you do get that slowdown penalty. We haven't seen that come into play yet today, but it's not the most uncommon thing in the world. So Bodolo trying to have the dive now on Hellrung through turn 2, but still no dice for that BMW. He's got to get a little bit closer before he's going to have a shot at making that position. And still continuing to close at to the end of this race. This is going to be the estimated final lap for Jacob Tofts the next time by at the line. This race has absolutely flown by. So you got all of these different factors starting to come into play here all at once. Now the only question is going to be, how is this going to play out for the TCRs? Because look at this. Magnussen trying to catch back up to Thorsten Ulrich. He is definitely on him here in the 25, and he is trying to pressure for the final podium position now. Coming to 2 to go for the TCRs. Magnussen a bit tighter that last time by to the final corner. Ulrich is a bit wider. Gonna cut it in though for turn number 1 and gets a good drive off of 1. So Magnussen not close enough for turn 2. You wouldn't want to go for the dive into turn 2 anyway, but you never know. Maybe something for turn 3. And knowing how Juan Cruz Federici De Palma's been driving all race long, would not be surprised that 26 machine decides to poke his nose into the ring as well.
Yeah, and in case you were wondering who that GT4 was that was stopped on the inside of the start-finish straight, that was Bo Rigor. He did retire his car.
And there it is, the battle for P2, or P3, and the TCRs is on. Magnussen, gonna get squeezed in by Thorsten Ulrich, nearly dumps the 17. Now getting squeezed out as well. Ulrich just barely gets clear. I think Magnussen might have cut Ulrich a little bit of a break there. He's gonna be giving him a hard shove now all the way down this straightaway towards turn 6. Magnussen backs off though, and that allows De Palma to close right back in.
Honestly, a little bit surprised that Matthias did back off there. I don't know if I would have done the same right there after getting squeezed out a little bit there by the 25 of Thorsten Ulrich.
Under a minute remaining. At the moment, it is looking like the GT4s might get one more lap here after Jacob Tofts comes back around. Tofts is entering the arena section now, so this could be potentially close, but I think there's not going to be enough time for Tofts to get back there. It looks like he will get that one more lap here. Second place, Joe Boniford runs a little bit wide in the background, but he keeps it steady. That's one thing to watch for. We've seen already a couple of GT4s getting caught up by that mess earlier today. So 30 seconds on the clock. Coming up now for the last 2 corners. Is this the white flag for Jacob Tofts? The answer will potentially be potentially no here. 15 seconds across the line. White flag in the air, not going to make it back in time. So the clock continues to tick away. The battles in TCRs and in the GT4s are still far from over. There it is. Time has expired. Final lap is officially underway now for the GT4s. The TCRs are still going to have one more run to go here. This is the battle for the race lead at TCRs as well. Just behind these guys, the fight for 3rd place raging on as well. Magnussen now trying to fend off De Palma. Jimenez just behind with Jake.
Whoa!
Whoa! Palma, how did he make that work?
Dive bomb of the century right there from De Palma, and now 3 wide.
Ulrich, what are you doing, my friend? He's getting all sorts of feisty now. Ulrich in the 25 car.
Oh, there he comes.
To the inside. De Palma's going to have to bail out, and Ulrich makes that one work clean. Here comes Magnussen trying to fight this one around the outside, and De Palma is forced to drop back.
He had the dive bomb, went up to 3rd place, and 1 corner later back into 6th place, 5th place rather. De Palma really not being able to capitalize on that dive bomb.
Meanwhile, for Jacob, coming through the arena section now, 5th and 6th is also tight. They were side by side coming out of the hairpin, but no swap position there. For Jacob Tofts, though, he is now going to come through these final set of corners here. He got the win, probably not the way he wanted to, but still a well-deserved win regardless. Kept his nose clean. Jacob Tofts from Porsche Sport up in the final corner. He is going to win it from the Hockenreimring after 15 laps of action. Coming to the last set of corners now. It's the battle for 5th and 6th. Going to run for white. and another lap as well for the TCRs coming to the line as well. So these guys still have their own little fights to be settled, as well as the TCR race lead battle as well. And here is that fight for the race lead. George Simmons still trying to fend off Maximilian Zoher just behind. Zoher is closer this time around than he has been ever before. P3 also picking on up. There's Ulrich trying to fend off against Magnussen. Oh, they make into the airpin. Magnussen gets pushed wide. Ulrich holds the position. De Palma back down the inside. Here goes Magnussen with the drive up at the corner. De Palma's going to have to back out of this one and slap back in line. Ulrich, what can he do? Can he fend off Magnussen? He's behind. Magnussen just got squeezed out. He is not going to be willing to play nice anymore. Ulrich deeper on the brakes. Magnussen trying the outside line.
Behind.
No crossover yet, and look at this. Jimenez trying to go down the inside of De Palma just behind.
This might be epic into the Sachs-Kurve. Will he be able to set something up through this right-hander Magnussen for that third place? He's getting a run, but it's not enough.
It will not be enough unless there's a big incident from Thorsten Ulrich. For the TCR race lead, though, off through the final corner, George Simmons is going to take victory, and the overall TCR's line just there. Keeping our eyes, though, on the battle for third place. Can Magnussen get the drive to the final corner? Doesn't look like he'll be able to. Thorsten Ulrich wins in the fight for third, and De Palma is going to have to settle for the fifth position just behind these guys. But what a fight in the TCRs. Thrilling stuff indeed, and George Simmons manages to maintain the race lead all the way through to the checkered flag. Well, with all the cars just about across the line, my goodness. Let's take a look down here at the post-race results as your race winner of Jacob Toffs starts to burn it down. Donuts from the GT4. That's a sight you don't see every day. So, in the overall classification here from round 11 for the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge here from Hockenheim, Jacob Toffs takes victory just under a second from John Bodefer from Michigan. Giuliani Egloff, the Frenchman, finishing it off on the podium. Florian von Minkvitz and Christopher Weitz round out the top five. Salomon so close to Weitz, but not able to get the move done. Finishes off in 6th place with Marcus Girac in 7th. Just 2/10 up from Jascha Hellrung. Jeremy Bodolo is in 9th place with Tommy Accioli in the 10th position. Lewis Ward is in 11th place, the last driver to finish on the lead lap in the GT4 field, with Dino Filippa crashing out of the race and finishing one lap down in the 12th position, excuse me. Juan Bustamante sits in 3rd with Bo Rigger in 14th. Damiano Harris in 15th place, one of the casualties of the opening lap pileup, along with Ben Kelly McCauley and Max Camaro, who did not finish the opening lap of the race. They didn't finish the first half of that lap as well. For TCRs, George Simmons takes a well-deserved win at long last. Half a second up from Maximilian Zohra, who was so close and might have had something, giving him another few more laps. Thorsten Ulrich just barely hangs on in a hard-fought fight with Matthias Magnussen for 4th. Juan Cruz Federici De Palma finishes off in 5th in his own battle for 6th place, with Ismael Jimenez just behind. Miguel Garcia, one lap down in 7th, with Dominic Cordum in 8th. Adam McNally and Marcel Jokheim rounding out the 10-car field for the for the TCR category. Fastest lap set by Jacob Toffs on the 3rd lap of the race with a 1:44.345. So, what a race that we have seen today. This was certainly a treat, especially that battle for 3rd in the TCR field in the closing minutes of that race.
Battles, crashes, mistakes under pressure, race fan hard. What else do you want? Hockenheim once again delivered them. IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge once again delivered. Sadly, we were already at the penultimate round at the Hockenreimring, but quite honestly, I just can't wait for what Road Atlanta holds for us next week.
Ooh, that's right. Road Atlanta is next. And what better track to finish it off in the season finale? A track that is hard to pass, to say the very least, especially in the GT4 side. They will be seeing the TCRs producing a little bit more action for us today. Of course, the first sector, though, the S's. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if the TCRs found a way to go side by side through there? I doubt it's going to happen, but considering all the action we've been seeing so far all season long, it really would not surprise me.
Not at all. And also, don't forget, we have that very long backstretch all the way to turn 10A and B. So once again, a very great passing opportunity like we had here today through the Parabolica into the Spitzkehre.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see here how things are going to play out. So, one more race and 30 more minutes to go here for the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Well, it does look as though that is going to be just about all the time then that we are going to have for one day. It has been yet another thrilling night of action. I've been Ola Red Bull, bringing you all of the coverage from start to finish with Stefan Schlacke beside me in the commentary box. Hockenreimring doing a fantastic job as always behind the cameras for today's race. Thank you for joining us for another presentation of Friday Night Prime Time. We will see you at Road Atlanta in 1 week's time.